Hey folks, it's Matt once again, and this time I'm coming at you with they had the perfect plan. They had the ultimate weapon, but he stole their thunder. Blue Thunder. My good friend Michael Keane, very nice surprise before Christmas, sent me a few films from my wish list just because. And there are films I want to check out on Blu-ray, including this one. And right off the bat, this looks great on Blu-ray. Has all the features from the special edition DVD, but the features are good. Director, editor, and motion control supervisor commentary. You have a making of Blue Thunder, which features Roy Scheider, of course, before he passed away. A special on the making of the helicopter, featurette from back in the day, the trailer, and I thought it looked pretty damn good in HD. And this is one of those films that I would call underrated. Some people may disagree because it gets a 6 point something on IMDb, but I feel it could be higher. When it came out, some places say it cost $22 million, but other places say $11 million. I believe the $11 million more because of how films were back in 1983. And 22 million seems like a lot in 1983 dollars. So 11 million, still a big budget at the time, but not as humongous. But for an $11 million budgeted flick, and it made over 40 million, so it did well. Well enough that they want to do a remake of this nowadays, involving drone warfare. We don't need a remake. I'll talk about that later. A lot of very talented people involved with Blue Thunder. Before I get into that, the gist of the story, the real quick note. Roy Scheider is an LAPD pilot who served in Vietnam. He gets a new partner, played by Daniel Stern. Roy Scheider, Daniel Stern are brought into this program to test out this new helicopter nicknamed Blue Thunder. And certain things happen, conspiracy, murder, and I'll get more in depth in the review, but you have John Badham directing. Now, John Badham had done Saturday Night Fever. This year alone, he did War Games and this movie. I know War Games is actually going to be directed by the same guy who did the original Beverly Hills Cop, but that director was let go, so John Badham was brought in to do most of the movie. So the fact that he had this movie and War Games in the same year, that's a good double feature. That's a good 1-2 combo. And later on, he would do The Hard Way, which I think is a fun buddy cop film with Michael J. Fox and James Woods. He did Short Circuit, which is a favorite of mine. He did Stakeout, very underrated buddy cop action film with Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss. John Badham is, if I made a list of top 10 favorite directors, he would be on there. He has a pretty good track record. The original, not only the story, but some of the screenplays by Dan O'Bannon. And of course, his screenplay was the basis for Alien. And he would go on to direct Return of the Living Dead. Dan O'Bannon, may he rest in peace. His original idea for this film was a taxi rider with a helicopter. Like, what if an LAPD cop had went crazy and started fucking up the city? But when it became a movie, they're like, yeah, can we make the cop a little bit more likable? Sounds like First Blood, how the novel Rambo was much more of a damaged goods. It's like, can we make him a little bit more, to root for? Which I thought was the right idea. I like this better. Although, instead of making a remake, why don't you just take that original idea and make that into a movie? You could call it any title. But hey, what do I know? So Dan O'Bannon, as well as Don Jacoby, wrote the film. John Badham directing. You have a great cast. You have Roy Scheider from Jaws. Love him as an actor. Greatly missed. He was in Jaws 1 and 2, which I love both of them. He was in The French Connection. He was in Sorcerer. He was in a film called 52 Pickup. He was in Sorcerer. I haven't seen in a long time. I remember the final moments being just not my cup of tea. French Connection, yeah. I have to see that again. Once again, the final moments kind of 52 Pickup, I've seen only once. I don't remember much about it. Oh, yeah, 2010, the sequel to 2001. I really enjoy that film. I mean, some of my favorites of Roy Scheider would be Jaws 1 and 2, this movie, 2010, the year we made Contact. He also had a supporting role in The Punisher from 2004. Always enjoyed him as actor, Roy Scheider. Greatly, greatly missed. Yeah, a very young Daniel Stern who would go on to do Home Alone 1 and 2, and he was in Chud around this time. He was in Leviathan, which is a favorite movie of mine. You also have Candy Clark as Roy Scheider's girlfriend, who would go on to be in the 1988 remake of The Blob. Warren Oates, who was Hulka, Sergeant Hulka, and Stripes. He's sort of the commanding officer who would give Bill Murray and Harold Ramis a hard time. This was Warren Oates' last film, but he's a really good actor. You have Malcolm McDowell as your villain, which guy from A Clockwork Orange. He made a good villain. A lot of just a really, really solid cast with this. You have a really good synthesizer score by Arthur B. Rubinstein, who would work with would work with John Badham more than once. He worked with him on Stakeout and did some little stuff for War Games, among others. Great underrated synth score, really fits the film like a glove. And lo and behold, they use real fucking helicopters. You have a real helicopter battle within a city. You will never see this film done like this ever again. Even in the remake, you know what they're going to do in the remake? It's either A, going to take place very, very far away, not in America. B, there's going to be a shitload of CGI to hide stuff. Or C, it's going to be so over the top, like a cartoon, it's going to be like a Transformers movie or San Andreas. Granted, that's earthquakes, but there's more CGI than live action. Technically, some of those movies should be called a fucking animated movie. I don't hate CGI in every aspect, but again, some of these fucking movies today, there's more CGI on the screen than live action. They should just be fucking animated movies. Just call them animated films. CGI animated films. I'm sorry, that's just a pet peeve. It's too much. They're doing too much. I know I sound like an old fogey, but it looks better real because it's fucking real. You can't get more real than real. But for some reason, that's a hard concept. And I know another thing is after 9/11 and terrorism and things of that nature, people would be uneasy in their cities having helicopters going by buildings or in between buildings or under bridges. But that's not real. It's filmmaking. I mean, they could do it back in 1983 when this came out. They should be able to know how to do that kind of stuff today. That's all I'm saying. You have a good lead character, Roy Scheider, capable cast, solid synthesizer score, real fucking helicopters, and part of me is confused they're doing a remake of Blue Thunder because if they're going to do a movie like that, after this film, there was a certain TV show that came out. Well, first off, the company did a TV show of this that only lasted 10, 11 episodes. And if you look on YouTube, there is a Blue Thunder TV show, again, about 10 or 11 episodes, that starred Dana Carvey, I think Bubba Smith, and Dick Butkus. And from what I understand, later on, they either stole footage from this movie, or it was so expensive, they did a lot of shit in a fucking van. I'm like, what are you, the A-Team? But there's another TV show that ripped this off, and it's called Airwolf, which lasted, I don't remember how many seasons. I haven't seen Airwolf in forever. Jan Michael Vincent and Ernest Borgnine. I'm like, if you want to do a remake of Blue Thunder, why don't you just do Airwolf, the movie? Because honestly, more people know Airwolf more than Blue Thunder. Airwolf is more pop culture than Blue Thunder. Like Blue Thunder, not many people talk about. But maybe that's what they want to do. Is this is original idea? It's not a remake. Fool you, type of shit. But anyway, this movie, which the cover is all right. But I like the simple VHS cover, which is a helicopter staring right at you at night. Almost like a simple, but kind of a little bit spooky cover. I don't know, just something ominous about that VHS cover, which I'm going to try to use as a thumbnail for this. But I like Roy Scheider's character. He's a guy who, throughout the film, has flashbacks to Vietnam, and he's a little bit, you could say a little bit paranoid or a little bit unsettled, has bad dreams. He does this thing with his watch, which is a cool little thing they put in for the character where he times himself, and he talks about how, well, when you're really going over the edge, you lose your sense of time. So he'll do that from time to time to make sure he's not over, his mind is over the edge. Let's say he has a new partner, Daniel Stern, that later on he gets this hat named Jaffo, and he doesn't know what it is. He's like, what's this, Jaffo? And then later on, in a recording, he says, oh, I just found out. This means just another fucking observer. But Daniel Stern, good actor, very young in this, has a lot of energy, has a good young energy to him. Nice setup for the beginning where they show a typical day in an LAPD helicopter where Roy Scheider shows him the ropes about how you use the spotlight to catch the bad guys and to notice one so it doesn't shoot a cop over here. And Roy will put the helicopter near the ground so the dust whips up and blinds the bad guys, and they even get shot at by the bad guys. And then you have some fun levity, which they probably would not do this nowadays because it's not PC. Honestly, some days I feel like we're getting too far into the Demolition Man future with, you know how back in the day you had the drug PCP? Well, that drug's going on now, and I call it PC pussies. That's the new PCP, PC pussies. Because they want to have a scene where these two guys, they've heard about this thing. Roy Scheider shows Daniel Stern as this naked woman doing stretches and yoga. And Daniel says, ooh, wow. Nowadays, they go, oh, you can't do that. That's against that woman's privacy and shows women in a bad angle. And I could just see it now. Because, yeah, you go over the top one way, but you go over the top, overboard the other way. As a guy said once, the door swings both ways. But I like the ideas a little bit of levity, so sometimes I feel like movies today, and watching this film, it made me sad because you would not see films like this nowadays. Because nowadays, either they go far one way where it's trying so hard to be, quote, fun that it's like a skit on an SNL type of skit, or it's so tongue-in-cheek that it's fucking breaking your jaw. Like a lot of movies, oh, this is like an 80s movie, and it's everything is so spoof that it's like splooge on your face that blinds you. Then they go the other way where they're so pretentious and so little with levity that they think they're an Oscar contender when they're just a Razzie contender. So not every movie in the 80s was a classic, but the reason a lot of people love them is that there's for most part, a balance. Some more towards here, some more towards there, but they have that fun entertainment factor, but a lot of times took themselves seriously enough. Then you add to that like a very capable cast, a lot of adult actors. Like if you made a movie like this today, which has a little bit of, back in the day, no one would have thought a helicopter could have infrared and a whisper mode that you could hear conversations through buildings, and to tape stuff, have video feed, have a computer on the helicopter, as well as heavy artillery. But that's what happens nowadays. I know critics, when this came out, they felt it was far-fetched. When you watch it today, it's not really that far-fetched. Now it's not science fiction, it's more reality. So this film was a bit ahead of its time. And how many films nowadays will have actual established actors in the lead role of a film that's still supposed to be entertainment? No, it'd be a very young actress, model, or actor that's, I mean, it's not nothing new, but it just seemed like back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, you would see more of these established actors. I also have a bit of blue collar, that blue collar quality. Like even Roy Scheider's character, Roy Scheider himself just had that sort of. He was a great actor, but he had a little bit of that blue collar guy, like you would see in Jaws. He's a cop, but he's a family man, and I just miss that. It really made me nostalgic. And I didn't even grow up watching this film. I didn't know anything about this film till, I don't know, a decade ago or so. I just heard about it in some books, and I'm like, oh, Blue Thunder, what's this? Roy Scheider? I know who that is. Daniel Stern? I know who that is. And it's about a high-tech helicopter? Okay, what's this about? Warren Oates is the commanding officer, but he has some nice levity when he tells Daniel Stern, "You're supposed to be stupid, son. Just don't abuse the privilege." Again, Roy Scheider, very interesting character. He has little tics to him, like he does the timing thing. He goes around these cones to sort of see if he can keep his timing still. Candy Clark is the girlfriend. I like that she was a bit spunky. She was a bit quirky. Uh, I wouldn't do the dialogue justice, but when we first see her character and her dialogue with Roy Scheider is a spunky, quirky, not annoying at all, very interesting, different kind of girlfriend. She is not a limp wrist. She's not a, ooh, a broken nail dead weight. She holds her own, but she's never at once bitchy, almost like a free spirit type of woman, but not annoying at all. I think she did a great job. I mean, for a girlfriend character in a movie, she was actually pretty damn good. And Roy Scheider is also a guy that he won't take shit from people. Yeah, the next time I'm suspended, so's my fucking beeper. Because they kept beeping him and he threw it away. And some things go wrong. This woman is killed. Him and Daniel Stern are grounded, but then they're part of this program. And this program is Blue Thunder for the potential for catastrophe, and what if terrorism, attacks us, and crowd control from the air. And I'm hearing this dialogue, and I'm like, I could see someone saying that today. The same exact dialogue. Especially the way things are in cities and such. I wouldn't be surprised if someone right now is trying to think of a Blue Thunder type. Martial law and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it has heavy artillery, has armor, and he watches this test of this taking out these targets in this fake town. And they even talk about how one civilian dead for every 10 terrorists. That's an acceptable ratio. And then Roy Scheider has to point out, yeah, unless you're one of the civilians. Malcolm McDowell, great sort of smarmy bad guy. He has that past with Roy Scheider. Throughout the film, he does this thing where he goes, "Catch you later," just to bud the shit out of Roy Scheider. Catch you later. Which comes out at the end in a fun way. There's one poor Malcolm McDowell fucks with Roy Scheider's chopper. And again, they did this all for real. A real helicopter that's going crazy around the city, and they have to land, and they crash on this trailer type of facility, and the helicopter even tips over. Doing this all for real. And it looks real. It doesn't look fake. It doesn't look phony. That's why this is a film from 1983 and it still holds up. There are films today that did not hold up the time I watched them, let alone 83, God, over 30 years from now. Well over 30 years from now. And it holds up. That's what some people just don't understand. They don't get. I'm sorry, it looks good when it's real. And that's a lot of stuff you would not see nowadays. And this helicopter is really cool. It even has a function where if you put the headset on, wherever you turn, the turret of the gun will turn with it. I thought that was really cool. There's, again, an online computer. You can enable Zoom. One thing leads to another. They test out the Blue Thunder, and him and Daniel Stern follow Malcolm McDowell, and they hear stuff about assassination and murder, and a lot of bad stuff happens. And of course, like every review, I go into spoilers. So if you don't want to hear the rest of it, feel free to check out the film. But I review films the only way I know how. I have to go in depth. And they're for people who have seen the movie. You know, if you watch the trailer, if it interests you, if you listen to the first couple minutes of my review interests you, go for it. That's what I usually do in my reviews. Or look at the title, check out the trailer on YouTube, watch it, and then you can watch my review. I like going in depth because not many people will. I mean, I even try to find reviews of this. There's like my review from 5 years ago. There's like one review that's like 5 minutes long, and one review that's like 8 minutes long. It's just there's a lot of films like this that don't get talked about. And I'm sorry. I'd rather talk about this than be the 10,575th guy to talk about Road One. And that gets people who like Road One. I don't give a shit about it. But like more like 20,000 people on YouTube will talk about Road One. Not many people talk about Blue Thunder, and I'm that guy that would rather talk about a film like Blue Thunder. This is my Road One. How about that? Or so when I first got on YouTube, that was more my interest. Films like this, and Virtuosity, and Leviathan, and Hard Target, and things of that nature that not many people talk about, or they talk about and they kind of dismiss or whatever. I'm like, fine, you want to throw it away? I'll gladly take it from you. But again, spoilers in every review I do from beginning to the end, but if you don't want to hear more, I'm going to get into extra spoilers. For example, bad guys try to get Daniel Stern to talk, and his mouth is taped and his hands is tied, and he runs and he gets run over. And it's actually very brutal. It's not bloody, but it's very brutal because he trips and he's on his knees, and the car comes and literally just runs him over. It's not one of those run over where he crashes into the windshield and goes on the top. No, he goes under the vehicle. And then you see his body sort of roll. I know there's talk on a featurette maybe they should, before they filmed it, have it so the character lived, but he's in surgery. But they're like, nah, make the events more serious. Have Daniel Stern's character die. Which I thought made sense in the long run. And I love the scene where he listens to the last words of Daniel Stern and tells him where the tapes are that they recorded of the conversations, and also he finds out what the hat he was wearing Jaffo means. I love Roy Scheider's sort of look and the music sort of rise up. And he gets set up and he steals their thunder. Frank Murphy, Roy Scheider's character, Frank Murphy stole their thunder. And he did a great finale. He gets in contact with Candy Clark to get this, where the tapes are in this package. And he follows her in this helicopter. There are police helicopters. He shoots at them, but only the parts of them just to take them down, not to harm them, but just to have them land. Strategically taking down these helicopters so there's no harm to them. Being chased under bridges, out maneuvering them. Some cops stop Candy Clark on a bridge, and you see the thunder rise up and shoot the cop car in half. Candy Clark's able to get to the TV station, and F-16s are chasing Roy Scheider's character, and Roy Scheider outmaneuvers the heat seekers. Like one, he goes by this sort of barbecue place, and the steam from the chimney gets a missile there. There's another where he's in between these two, I believe they're empty buildings, because the people have left, and he able to use the sun glistening on the windows and use that and see missiles go through fucking buildings. Maybe some people would be creeped out because they be reminded of 9/11, but I looked at it and I'm like, that's some really good, I believe it's model work. I think that's really good model work. It was pretty damn good. It's exciting. And he's able to fuck up one F-16 enough so that they eject. And it has this firefight, an aircraft firefight with Malcolm McDowell through the city. And you get these insane POVs of a helicopter going through the city, going through buildings, going past these abandoned warehouses and firepower and explosions. And again, these crazy POV shots. And at times you see the actor in the cockpit and they're in the helicopter. And you see that it's not, there's blue screen, however you want to call it, but there's some where it's actually them in the shot. And you see the reflection of the buildings on the, what do you call it, their windows. I'm like, yeah, they would never do this nowadays. It would be 100% on a green screen. It would be 100% that. And it's sad. Because they could do it back in 1983, but they can't do it today. Explain that shit to me. Well, it's hard. Of course it's hard. If making a movie was easy, every fucking person would do it. And in fact, maybe that's why we have so many fucking shitty movies, because they're trying to make movies so easy to make that too many fucking people who should not be making movies, who do not know about the hard work of making movies, make these fucking movies and they suck. And of course we go, yeah, it sucked because it was lazy. Movies are supposed to be hard to do. Just my opinion. It's not fucking easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Again, then every fucking person would fucking do it. Why do you think so many people get tired of fucking found footage? Because they feel it's fucking lazy. It's just a camera going, ugh. And I like some found footage. That's coming from me. There's found footage films that I like, and even I know that there's so fucking many of them because it's a lazy format to make a movie. But anyway, that's the thing is, like, as I'm watching this, it also not only became a review of this film, but of how films were made back then to how films were made today. And as to why I hate so many new films. Of course, everyone wants to say every single film, but I can name every year you pick, any genre you pick. You pick any year, I'll name films I enjoy. Even 2016, 2015, I can pick movies that I enjoyed. But it seems like it's just getting less and less and less and less. You want to chalk it up to nostalgia and getting old? Fine. To me, there's more to it than that. Established actors, including of an older fashion, not going so far to be pretentious, but not going so far to be tongue-in-cheek that it's stabbing through your fucking cheek and tearing a new face off. real shit going on, real stuff, real technology, real vehicles, real explosions, as well as good characters. You have fun finale, real fucking helicopters going at each other. Roy Scheider before told Daniel Stern about this when he was young, this 360 maneuver he did with a helicopter, and Malcolm McDowell says, "Oh, that's impossible." Then later on, Roy Scheider's able to do it. Do the 360 with the Blue Thunder and fuck up Malcolm McDowell, and then he does catch you later. And he knows this thing is too dangerous to have, so he sets it in front of a train, it blows up, and he walks off into the sunset with a great synthesizer music playing at the end credits. So Blue Thunder on Blu-ray is pretty damn good. It's underrated. I would call it an underrated gem because no one talks about this movie. Other than when they told when they said they were remaking the film, when was this film ever mentioned? It wasn't. I mean, obviously, it seemed like Roy Scheider was proud of the film in the interview, and John Badham was proud. And it seemed like Roy Scheider and Malcolm McDowell became friends on set, based on some of the trivia on IMDb. And a lot of people no longer with us. Like I said, Roy Scheider, Dan O'Bannon, Warren Oates, and those guys did a great job with this. Great movie, very solid film, and a bit ahead of its time. So those are my thoughts on Blue Thunder. We don't need a remake. We need. There's. I went on Facebook and I typed something out, and I could end it by reading that. Not the whole thing, but fuck it, maybe I will. A forgotten, underrated 80s film, which is yet another flick on the remake block. Thanks go out to Michael Keane for sending me the Blu-ray from my Amazon wishlist. And he didn't ask me to review or anything. It was just, hey, here's a gift. So that was very nice. I see a film that, in a way, was original, and it is. When this came out, there were not that many movies about helicopters being made as this weapon that did all these things. In a way, this is an original idea. And it would inspire stuff like the TV show Airwolf, as well as its own short-lived TV show. I see a film that showcases real helicopters doing real things, actual flying vehicles going through actual cities, under bridges, between buildings. The kind of stuff that is the reason why a film like this from 1983 still holds up today. Nowadays, it would be tons of CGI, and in this age, no one would want to take that effort, as well as the climate after things like 9/11 and so forth, to showcase real aircraft near real buildings. I see a film that had great actors, established ones like Roy Scheider and Warren Oates in his last film, as well as newer ones like Candy Clark and Daniel Stern, and even Malcolm McDowell as the villain. Do many films today feature great established adult actors in lead roles in films of this nature? And if not, why? A solid synthesizer score which is underrated. Moments of humor to ease up the seriousness at times so that it's not pretentious, but not going too dumb or raunchy as hell material. Fine pacing, solid cast, a great lead performance from Roy Scheider, and real helicopter action which is well done, well handled. Hollywood, we don't need remakes. We need you to look back and see how and why films of the past are loved today. Actual actors with even a hint of blue-collar / sympathetic aesthetics. Memorable music for its score. Capable cast. A balance between levity and seriousness. Nowadays, either a film gets too jokey or too stupid, or they get too pretentious as if they are wannabe Oscar contenders. As real, actual action. Stop remaking. Start researching. Stop rebooting. Start learning. Isn't that what we're taught in school? To learn about the past? There's a reason for that. Instead of remaking the past, you should start studying the past. Start learning about the past. Not use it for some cheap nostalgia hook. Learn. Maybe learn from people who actually love these movies, not in a, oh, it's funny, or oh, it's cheesy, or oh, it's tongue-in-cheek way. No, how about from the people who actually sincerely love these kind of movies in the 80s and 90s, who actually love them sincerely for what they were intended. None of this wisecrack, yeah, that's good, it's funny, this is an 80s movie, yeah. No. That's why when people do 80s type of movies, they miss the mark. Because they just, maybe that's another topic one day, but I'm going off tangent. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Blue Thunder. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.